Now the rest of it.
That's broken everybody.
Okay, this is kind of personal, but like usually when I read like biographies of poets, they usually like to include like, oh, his father owned like a meat factory and that's why he kind of writes about this kind of stuff, or all his parents died when he was like 5 and it was very traumatic and that's why he writes this way. So I was just kind of wondering if you have any like traumatic experiences in your life, or if like you have some kind of like any disorder or disease or anything like that. It's kind of personal, but I feel like it's...
No, that's a good question. The thing, when I was about 22 or 23, I got chronic fatigue syndrome, and which is kind of not very well understood disorder. A lot of people say they have it when they don't. Like, just it's not just feeling tired or something, or just being depressed, or just generally not feeling well, or it's not just that. It's a particular disorder that, like, I for 2 years would have a fever every day. Like, I would wake up and my body would be at about 97.8, and then during the course of the day it would go up to about 99.4. So I'd be shivering, and then at night I'd sweat, and all my joints really hurt, and occasionally my lymph nodes would all swell up. And they didn't know what it was for a long time, but there was nothing I could do. I just felt so. I mean, I could barely lay in bed and just feel my joints just hurting, and there was nothing I could do. And I would just lay there, imagining hatchets swinging through my body. I would just think, for relief, I would just think, what if a bunch of hatchets were now swinging? That would be so good. Maybe I could sleep. But to go through a real painful situation and just being sick and confusion and sickness, not knowing what it was, and that was profoundly, that affected me, I'm sure, and made me change my whole sense of, because up to that point I probably had more of an understanding, a naive understanding of life, where life was this circulation of seasons. So it was always something it was eternal. It would be just this movement of seasons. And I come from the East Coast, so there are seasons. But then this thing hit, and I was like, just made me real. I thought I was dying, or I didn't know what was wrong. But I was very athletic up to that point. I'd always been very, but this just crippled me, I think in the Wendy's book you feel something of that, like of somebody who's just in a great deal of pain, but at the same time still has a lot of energy that he wants to put toward something.
Yeah, I thought the character might have like colon cancer from eating like too much fast food or something, because he talks about like rectal bleeding a lot.
Not a lot.
Or a few times.
A couple times.
You have more?
They've kind of been nice.
Kind of? Okay.
I was wondering if the scene of the speaker was like indirectly addressing like issues of social barriers and kind of like the intersection of like routine between strangers. And I was wondering if this was true, if he was kind of like attempting to liberate the patrons of Wendy's by writing the corporation.
What do you mean? What do you think could actually happen?
Oh, I don't think anything would happen, but I was just wondering if like in his
if
head,
that was his intention.
if it was the case.
I get the feeling that the character, I think one of the things about the book is that one of the things that I think works and that I think is right is that the character is quite satisfied with Wendy's, or has this sense that it is mostly wonderful. It's a wonderful place. Even when he's in pain and everything, you get a sense that at least he can go there. And so, yeah, no, I don't get the sense that he's writing for any kind of change to it. I think it's more, and I think, again, part of the joke is probably that there isn't any explicit, like, I'm writing to you because, like, like it would be kind of like thinking of, here's the way to think of the joke. Choose one of your neighbors, right, who you know, at least acquaintance, you know who they are, right? Start writing them a letter every day. Just sending them a letter, not asking for anything, just saying, like, you know, what you were doing that day. And you just keep sending a letter. That'll be fun. In fact, I think I want to do that now. I have this neighbor named Larry who has 2 border collies who he walks all the time. I'm sure I'll just start writing him every day.
I saw you
Letters
today.
for Larry.
Hope you're well.
Dogs
And
are
every day, and like not carry them over to his box, but send them in the mail.
Send them when you get enough, like years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my next question was, if Wendy's was supposed to be viewed as like a symbol of like the restrictions of like daily routine, and if that was the case, if it was supposed to be ironic if he was in a routine himself.
Somewhat. I don't know that I would entirely agree with the premise that it's that it's a restriction. You know, there's a lot of talk these days, or there's always been a lot of talk about freedom, and as if, like, if we think about it, I want to be totally free. You know, what would that mean? You know, it'd be like, so you'd have no clothes, no building, no, you know, there's only so far you can go. Let's say, well, maybe you could go to NASA and like go into one of those gravity-free zones, so there'd be no gravity. So you'd be this naked, floating, you know, free person. And you'd be free to go like this, or to like sing, or to do whatever you want to do. But that's not what life's not about. Life's about all the different ways in which we aren't free, and those aren't to be seen, I think, as like we have to eat, for instance. You can't be free of eating, and yet being bound into hunger and into the physical need of food